of a large dog barking, or thunder rolling across the sky, or even a quiet whisper. Our instinct is to treat those events as objects, discrete things that float through the air and enter our heads. But none of these objects actually go inside your ear. This diagram shows what is actually happening. Sound is organized, rhythmic pressure moving through a compatible medium, like air. The air compresses, relaxes, and compresses again, sending pulses of kinetic energy outward from the source. We often treat the visible part of the ear as a passive microphone, a bit of cartilage designed to catch abstract audio. Hearing is the sensation of kinetic energy. The ear functions as a living mechanical to neural translation system, and we can see how it works by following a single pulse of pressure on its journey inside. The visible outer ear catches that incoming pressure wave, shaping it and funneling it down the ear canal until it physically strikes the eardrum, causing it to vibrate in step with the pattern. But immediately behind that eardrum is a major engineering problem. The deep structures of the inner ear are filled with dense fluid. Weak airwaves hit that fluid and simply bounce off, like yelling at a swimming pool and expecting the water to move. To solve this, the body uses the three tiny middle ear bones, the malleus, incus, and stapes. These bones function as a biological hydraulic press. Look at this diagram comparing their surface areas. The system takes the wide, low-pressure movement of the large eardrum and concentrates that kinetic input down onto the tiny footprint of the stapes. By focusing the force onto a much smaller point, the middle ear acts as a motion bridge. It ensures the signal survives the boundary crossing from thin air into dense liquid. That concentrated punch from the stapes physically rams into the cochlea, a coiled, fluid-filled organ, launching traveling pressure waves deep inside. Watch the cochlea unrolled into a flat ribbon. The membrane isn't uniform. A high-frequency pressure wave peaks sharply right at the front edge. A lower-frequency wave travels much farther down before creating its maximum motion. Pitch is literally a physical location. The ear mechanically sorts sound based on exactly where the fluid hits the hardest. Before your brain is ever involved, the cochlea acts as a spatial rhythm decoder. Now we zoom in to the exact moment where motion becomes perception. Sitting directly on that moving membrane is a microscopic switchboard made of hair cells or stereocilia. This model illustrates the trick. Neighboring hair cells are tied together by microscopic protein cables. As fluid bends the hairs, it pulls those cables taut. Yanking the cable opens a tiny trapdoor. Charged ions rush inside, instantly changing the cell's electrical state. The fluid bent the hair pulled the cable opened the door. External kinetic motion has officially been converted into internal neural electricity. This mechanical reality explains our daily experience of sound. Loudness is a measurement of physical scale. Larger sounds cause more violent bending of the hair cells and more intense neural signaling. Having two of these translators provides a constant 360-degree acoustic scanner. If a branch snaps to your left, the kinetic wave hits your left eardrum a fraction of a millisecond before your right. The brain compares those microscopic differences in arrival time and intensity to infer direction. Our perception of stereo sound is a comparison-based motion tracking system, warning us of movement in the dark long before we can see it. Because hearing is purely mechanical, it has a glaring vulnerability. If the incoming kinetic motion is too violent, it overwhelms the translator. The physical force permanently destroys the hair cells, and in humans, they do not regenerate. When those cells die, specific frequency channels stop delivering their normal rhythm to the brain. This diagram demonstrates the brain's reaction. It hates missing patterns. When a channel goes silent, the auditory system cranks up its own internal sensitivity, hunting for the absent input, until it amplifies its own baseline neural static. That high-pitched ringing is tinnitus. It is the brain fabricating phantom motion because the real mechanical translator has broken down. Whether the source is a symphony or a falling kitchen pan, the biological job is the same. The ears are living machines, translating the kinetic pressure of the universe into the rhythm of human perception.